First Contact Report, Galactic Scientific Council, filed by Senior Xenobiologist Zixtal of the Observation Fleet. Subject, Earth. Classification, Death World, Extreme. When we first discovered Earth, we thought we had made a critical error in our readings. Surely no sapient species could evolve in such a hostile world. The gravity alone should have crushed any developing civilization. Yet there they were, bipedal organisms walking casually under crushing forces that would snap most species' exoskeletons like dried leaves. That was just the beginning of their impossibilities. I still remember the day we lost contact with our first observation post. The human settlement it was monitoring had detected the cloaking field's energy signature, something our engineers had assured us was impossible. Within hours, they had not only located the post but sent a team to investigate. Our observers followed standard first contact protocols, emerge peacefully, establish communication, and share cultural information. But something went wrong. The last transmission we received was our lead researcher screaming about being hunted by creatures that weren't even apex predators on their own world. When we recovered the post data crystals, what we saw changed everything we thought we knew about sapient species. The humans had tracked our observers through a raging storm, a storm that by all rights should have grounded any rational being. The footage showed them moving through near-freezing rain, their bodies somehow maintaining function despite the temperature shock that would have sent any normal species into hibernation. They didn't just endure the storm, they used it. They used the howling wind to mask their movements, the lightning flashes to disorient our sensors, the rain to wash away their thermal signatures. It was methodical, tactical, terrifying.
But they're not even properly armored,
Protested one of my junior researchers when reviewing the footage.
No claws, no natural weapons, soft exterior.
I had to laugh at her naivety.
That's what makes them so dangerous. They didn't need those things. They evolved something far more lethal: adaptability.
The more we studied them, the more this truth became apparent. Humans weren't specialized killing machines like the apex predators of their world. They were something far worse. They were generalists who had turned their very limitations into advantages. Take their seemingly fragile skin. We originally thought it was a severe evolutionary disadvantage until we discovered its true purpose. Their bodies are covered in millions of sensory organs that can detect the slightest change in their environment. They can feel a single grain of sand out of place, sense the minute pressure changes that precede storms, even detect the electrical fields generated by other living beings. And their endurance? It defies every principle of energy conservation we know. Humans can literally run their prey to death, pursuing them until even the fastest creatures collapse from exhaustion. They call it persistence hunting, and it's perhaps the most terrifying hunting method we've ever encountered. Imagine being pursued by a predator that never tires, never loses your trail, and can outlast any sprint or desperate flight you attempt. But it was their minds that truly marked them as the galaxy's premier Deathworlders. The same adaptability that let them survive in every climate on their planet made them impossibly quick learners. Within weeks of discovering our observation post, they had not only reverse engineered several of our technologies, but improved upon them. They took our standard atmospheric filters and modified them to work in environments we had deemed impossible to survive in. They looked at our defensive shields, designed to withstand energy weapons, and figured out how to modulate them to defend against the kinetic weapons they preferred, weapons that hurled pieces of metal at velocities that approached significant fractions of light speed. Most disturbing of all was their reaction to learning they weren't alone in the galaxy. While most species respond to first contact with either fear or reverence, humans responded with excitement. They were thrilled to learn there were more challenges to overcome, more environments to adapt to, more technologies to master. When we finally established official diplomatic relations, their representative said something that still haunts me.
We spent our entire history thinking we were alone in the universe. Do you know what that means? It means everything we achieved, we did on our own. Every problem we solved, every obstacle we overcame, we did it without help or guidance. Now imagine what we can do with access to the knowledge of an entire galaxy.
That's when I realized our greatest mistake. We had been so focused on studying humans as potential threats that we failed to see their true nature. They weren't simply death worlders who had survived against impossible odds. They were problem solvers who had turned an entire hostile planet into their playground. The various member species of the Galactic Council evolved on worlds that nurtured them, that shaped them to fit perfectly into their ecological niches. Humans, they evolved on a world that tried to kill them at every turn, and their response was to adapt so effectively that they became the only species in known space that could survive on any world they encountered. Final assessment: humans are not merely death worlders. They are the culmination of what happens when you take a species with the intelligence to create tools, the adaptability to survive anywhere, and the sheer stubborn determination to never accept limitations, then put them on a planet that constantly tries to kill them. They don't just survive in hostile environments, they thrive in them. They don't just overcome obstacles, they turn them into advantages. And perhaps most importantly, they don't just adapt to their environment, they adapt their environment to themselves. The term death worlder is insufficient. I propose a new classification: universe shapers, because that's what humans do. They look at the impossible and see a challenge. They look at limitations and see opportunities. They look at certain deaths and see a problem to solve. And they're very, very good at solving problems. Addendum: this report should be considered a Class 1 priority document. All member species of the Galactic Council should be made aware of its contents, particularly the sections regarding human adaptability and problem-solving capabilities. It is my professional opinion that any species seeking to challenge or confront humanity should first consider a simple question: how do you defeat an enemy that literally evolved by overcoming impossible odds? The answer, I fear, is that you don't. You adapt to them, just as they have adapted to everything else. Because if there's one thing we've learned about humans, it's that they don't stay confined by anyone's limitations, not even their own. End report. Personal note: since filing this report, I've had the privilege of working closely with human scientists. Their curiosity is infectious, their methods unorthodox but effective. They approach every problem with a combination of systematic analysis and creative intuition that I've never seen in any other species. Last week, one of them noticed I was struggling to manipulate some equipment with my appendages, which evolved for precision rather than strength. The next day, they had designed and fabricated a custom tool that perfectly bridged the gap between my biological capabilities and the task requirements. When I asked why they went to such trouble, their response was typically human.
We saw a problem, so we fixed it. That's kind of our thing.
Indeed it is, and perhaps that's what makes them the most fearsome death worlders in the galaxy. Not their ability to survive anything, but their compulsion to make everything survivable for everyone else, too.